Hi there. Happy Friday. It's Pam Wandry with Columbine Mortgage, and this is your Weekend Watch. This week, not a whole lot of news coming out to move the markets. We've had some pretty mild up and downs, but overall, our benchmark rate stayed the same. We're sitting here at 5.99% again, which is exactly where we started at the beginning of the year. More notably, it's as to point out the fact that rates have been pretty stable since September. The last time we saw any major volatility was back in September when the markets were trying to get ahead of the inflation and employment data reports, as well as the upcoming potential rate cut by the Fed. And so haven't seen really much major ups and downs with the interest rates since then, which is great for buyers as you're trying to plan. It makes it much easier to kind of know what payment is going to look like going forward, since you're able to use an interest rate and know that that's going to be pretty steady. Here in the Denver metro area, we had another solid week of increase of homes. More than 1,200 homes came onto the market. Over 1,000 of those went under contract this past week. Not 1,000 that came on the market, but 1,000 homes went under market. And our median days on market is moving down, so 31 days now. And so really, it's still a very balanced market. Neither the buyers or the sellers are giving up much in the negotiations, and so that's really good. Here at Columbine, we had a solid week with 83% of our offers accepted, with an average of about 1% list price. Notably, only one contract had any seller concessions, and more negotiations were had on lower priced homes. So that's kind of the trend we're seeing. Noticeably, this is where we were comparatively to 3 weeks later last year with the way the market is acting right now. So we'll see if that keeps continuing as we head into the full-blown spring market, and see what happens. Now, when you come to qualify for a mortgage, there's lots of income sources that can be used, and a lot of times several of those sources can be combined to make sure that the total income needed to qualify is there. One of those is assets. So if you are somebody that has a good amount of assets in accounts, so like IRAs, brokerage, things like that, you may be able to use those as to be able to supplement your income. So there's non-QM, there's Fannie and Freddie, and they all have their different varying guidelines to be able to utilize those. Non-QM is a good option for buyers and buyers that may not qualify under the Freddie and Fannie guidelines. It does come with a little slightly higher interest rate, but it does allow for utilizing those funds as quote-unquote income. Now, if you are using a Fannie loan, if you are under 62, you have to be only using the only IRA, 401k, retirement type accounts are able to be used. But basically, you take the total, you give it a haircut, and then you divide it over the term of the loan. You have to have at least 70% LTV if you're under 62, and if you're over 62, that LTV goes up to 80%. So that's one option. And then Freddie, at least one borrower has to be 62 to be able to use this, the Freddie Mac ones. But you can both use brokerage and retirement accounts. And then it's only divided by 240 months instead of 360 or whatever the loan term is. So lots of good options. It's a good way to supplement that income if needed to be able to qualify. If you have any questions or headed out this weekend, give me a holler. That's what I'm here for. Otherwise, have a lovely weekend. Bye.